and surviving abusive relationships. But first, the intro music. Hello, God bless, and welcome. I'm Kevin Haggerty, and this is the Godlogic Project.
Shut up, Kevin.
That's right. I'm Kevin Haggerty. That's Mike Houston telling me to shut up like he does every week. We have an interesting topic, a topic that I really want to learn more about, and I reached out to a few friends and came up with 3 people that have experience surviving abusive relationships, and that could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, or even sexual abuse within a relationship. So we're gonna talk about that, and it's a very tough subject. And I encourage you guys, of course, to comment on the YouTube channel. We will monitor. I am now monitoring comments on the YouTube channel, and you will see me comment on there occasionally. Oh, there we are. We're on. So if you're going to comment, please comment on the YouTube channel. And I should mute my phone so we don't hear me twice. And then you could also call in. We're going to open the phone lines at some point, so you can call in and if you like to, anonymously or otherwise, share your experience, strength, and hope with this topic. So we're talking tonight about weaponizing love, abusive relationships. It's going to be an interesting night. First, I want to thank you guys, of course, for your continued support of the Godlogic Project. We continue to grow subscribers. I encourage you to take a second, subscribe, ring the alert bell. You get a reminder every time we put up new content. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal to a YouTube creator, so I really do encourage you to take a second and do that for me. I'd really appreciate it. I want to thank you guys, as always, for going to godlogicproject.com, clicking on the Amazon logo and shopping. If you're going to shop on Amazon anyway, go to my website and click on the logo. Shop as normal, but Amazon will throw a few bucks to the Godlogic Project, help to pay the expenses every month for the running a podcast studio. And the other thing is, and this is pretty cool, you can now go to anchor.fm/Godlogic Project and be a project partner. So you can pledge $1, $5, or $10 a month. It comes right out off your debit card every month, and it will help, again, to offset some of the expenses of running a podcast that I've been, so far paying out of pocket. Because let me tell you, this ministry is bleeding to death. If it wasn't for living on a budget, I wouldn't be able to do this. So anyway, in the studio today, I'm going to have the guests introduce themselves. First, we have Casey. What's your name?
My name is Casey. I'm your daughter.
Oh, that's why I recognize you. I thought I recognized you.
Yep.
So, and you have an experience with an abusive relationship. And give us just an overview. You were married to somebody that was, how was he behaving? What was that like?
To me, it wasn't very super abusive. There was times where I was held down, things like that, but he never hit me or anything like that. The abuse was actually towards my children. When it started, my youngest was 17 months old. So it was very, very difficult and continued even after we separated. And now it's finally better, but it was hard for a long time.
Right, and that was a situation you were probably in for a year or two. Is that correct?
The abuse altogether was probably 3 years.
Okay, so that is something. We're going to unpack that a little bit more, but it's got to be terribly difficult to A, admit you're in that situation, and B, then be brave enough and bold enough to get out of that relationship, that situation. Jen, introduce yourself. You've been on the show before, of course. You are?
I'm Jennifer Little, and so I was in an abusive marriage. My ex-husband physically, mentally, emotionally abused me for a few years. The last time that he did, he was arrested for battery by strangulation.
Oh, my gosh.
So it got really bad. And it's difficult, when you're married, to have to tell your family that, I have a child with him. And to pack up your whole life and leave is scary. So, yeah, that's...
Okay, and then down at the other end of the studio, we don't always have a third guest, and when we do, we have no backdrop but sound blankets behind them. Kendall, introduce yourself to the viewing audience.
Okay, yeah, my name is Kendall Surratt, and I've been, for the last 16 years up until recently, in a codependent relationship where, the female was abusive also.
And then we're gonna unpack that a little bit more. But when you reached out to me as part of this project on Weaponizing Love, I was very interested and intrigued to have a man in the conversation rather than just women. So and I don't have, by the way, I don't have a background in this myself, so it'll be good for you guys to kind of pour into me your experience, strength, and hope. And while you're describing this to me, maybe we're helping somebody in the viewing audience. Right. So I encourage you guys to continue watching, and I appreciate you being here. I think this is an episode that can do a lot of good. So I want to move on now. We'll go in order again, and we're going to get a little bit more descriptive in what was going on, and then we'll start with Casey, and we'll go around the table, and then if you guys can relate, you can speak into what Casey's kind of expressing as well. So, Case, you were, strangely enough, your dad didn't know all this was going on. So Jen talked about telling your family and keeping it a secret. It had to be a heavy weight, considering you and I are very close in the real world, outside of the podcast world, and it must have been very difficult for you not to share this information with me. So talk about what it was like, and was there a loneliness or an isolation that went with trying to keep a secret like that?
Yeah, it was very lonely. For the first year and a half, it was a lot of emotional abuse. So, manipulation. So he manipulated me, which you hear about it the opposite way, kind of what you're saying, but he manipulated me into getting pregnant. Usually the woman you hear manipulates somebody, the guy, into, so they kind of get stuck together. He was like that with me. Manipulated me into a lot of things, but we would constantly get in these arguments, and he was very angry, and I was pregnant, told me, I was 8 months pregnant at this point, told me to go get an abortion if he wasn't with me, because he knew I wanted to leave. If he wasn't with me, then he wouldn't be part of his child's life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of up my butt, trying to see if I'm cheating on him, and like always emotionally abusive with the yelling, and I know you're doing something, and like I'm not doing anything. I'm 9 months pregnant, but there was things like that, and then I got pregnant again right away.
Yeah.
And I believe that was another form of making sure that I could stay, and the second time ended up being twins. So the twins were born 11 months after Kennedy was born.
So you had Irish triplets.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't stop at Irish twins. You had 3 kids in 1 year.
Yep. So soon after, actually during the pregnancy with the twins, he was cheating on me with his employees at his restaurant. He's a general manager of a restaurant, so would cheat on me with his employees and things like that. And I would catch him and still say, I'll be with you, because now I'm scared to be without him because he's been so angry,
right.
And now what am I going to do with 3 kids? So I wasn't working at that point. Just because daycare would have been my whole paycheck. But,
right.
So it was a lot of, now I'm scared to leave. And the first time it happened, my oldest, Kennedy, was 17 months old, and he was giving her a bath, and she was throwing a tantrum after the bath. She didn't want to get dressed, and he hit her face and gave her 2 black eyes,
Wow.
bloody lip, and a bloody nose. I told him, I know what you did. I could hear commotion I was in the next room, so I could hear commotion, but I didn't see it physically happen. But I could hear the commotion. I thought she was just throwing a tantrum.
Right.
Like I didn't think anything of it. And because he really had been, and people hate me for saying this, but he really was a great dad. So that sounds crazy because he's a convicted child abuser. Right. But he loved them, and he was a dad that was up in the middle of the night to give them bottles, and you just go sleep. I'll take care of them. The problem was the anger.
Right.
Yeah.
The mental health.
And he was
the
a convicted child abuser after that point. He wasn't prior to that, correct?
Right, correct.
And Jen, when you hear a story like that, how much of that mirrors your story?
Oh,
and,
I can
and
relate.
What would you say? What would you say was similar? And were there any other uniquenesses to your situation?
That's how mine started. So it started with the little things, like where you go, just things you wouldn't even think about.
Right.
The little, like, where are you going? Who are you talking to? I remember I was talking to my mom, and my mom and I have a really great relationship. And so we were talking for like 30 minutes, and he got so mad that I was talking to her, like he smashed my phone. Well, what do you got to talk to your mom for that long,
Yeah.
So it started with little things like that. you know, why do you have to wear makeup when you go grocery shopping? You know, just change your hair like this. You shouldn't wear that.
So we see control again as part of the situation.
Definitely.
And the I would guess the reason he doesn't want to talking to your mom is he doesn't want you disclosing these things to someone that clearly would love you and protect you.
Right.
So
that isolation for sure.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme, and I'm already learning a lot from this. But Kendall, you have a unique situation because you're married, or we're married, or still married.
I mean, like right now we're just separated, trying to see like where we can get our lives, but there's no like plan beyond that.
Yeah. So, but you're married to somebody, and you're in a relationship with somebody where the woman was controlling. Does your situation sound like their situation, just in reverse, or how is it?
No,
different?
I mean it's different in almost a few different ways, but it's still the same. Like you're saying, checking on you, seeing what you're doing all the time. Well, that's an obvious insecurity. From a guy's point of view, that would be, I don't know where I would be, so where could you be? Like, think that the female is up to something in your relationship, because you're probably the one that's looking to go find another female to go spend time with. It's something that's wrong with you in the relationship, like how you think and process, and that's how it breaks down to putting it on to your girlfriend or your wife. You're not going to be faithful, so you divert that to the female and automatically assume she's not faithful.
Well, I've been in relationships myself where the person struggled with mental illness, and I began to being confident that I can help and we can get through this. But the constant denial, I began to think maybe I'm the crazy one. Did you find that to be an issue where you live in this environment so long, you begin to think to yourself, maybe they're right.
Absolutely.
You know, why am I putting on makeup? Why am I calling my mom? Why did I stop at the gym after work or something like that? Speaking to that, did you ever find yourself thinking, you know, they might be right?
Yes.
You know, and begin to blame yourself for the
Every single
situation
time.
you're in. So that's common.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
So how did that, unpack that for me a little bit? How did that, if you're going to explain that to somebody watching, and we are, by the way, international now. We have like a 3% market share in Indonesia.
Okay.
I don't know how. I hope they speak English. But explain to me how it felt to be in this situation. You for 3 years. You for how long?
About 3 years.
Okay, and you had an absolute trigger. So something triggered you to the instinct to protect your child. Triggered your move, right? So God interrupted your self-will. Turns out that instance, which seemed terrible, and I had a front row seat. You came to live with me after that, was perhaps the biggest blessing in your life, because I know your story, of course, well, and your recovery after that, and the things that God has put into your life after that have been tremendous. Yeah. But while you're in that situation, and people watching this feel the same way, it's almost hopeless. And if you're feeling it like I was feeling at one point, 8 or 10 years ago, I'm starting to think, what am I, crazy? What's the matter with me?
Right.
And I reached out to people. Interestingly enough, I would reach out to people and say something's not right, and these are her friends, and they were convinced it was me. Right. So they're saying, and I might have a reputation of being impatient and intolerant. I consider it inefficient. Right. But they were convinced, very well convinced, that it was me. And years later, when I would see them, they would be, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You told us, you asked us for help, and I thought it was you. I'm so sorry," and blah blah blah. Of course, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube anymore. But when you try to share this information with people, do you find that they spend too much time thinking about what your part is in it, or defending the abuser? Did you have either of you or any of you have that kind of relationship?
For me, it wasn't necessarily that I was defending, but I would start feeling like, he's right. Like, I'm not worth anything. I'm not pretty. You know what I mean? I had these babies and I'm gross.
Yes.
And truly, I was blessed. My body truly did bounce back. Thank you, God. After even twins, people, you know what I mean? I'm not being cocky. I'm being real. But I still felt so ugly. And he would tell me that. He would say, I'm not attracted to you. Like I'm not interested in you. And I started believing that. I started believing I'm not enough, and physically, sexually, anything like that.
And that seems to me that would maybe something that would occur deep into an unhealthy relationship, but not in 3 years, right? So when you get into your 60s and 70s, maybe you begin to kind of feel that way, and you kind of, you see the end. You recognize your own mortality, and you go through what they call a midlife crisis, and all of a sudden, it's not good enough. But that's very strange that in your 30s, after just 3 years, and he was in his 30s or 20s.
He was in his 30s. I was only 20.
Yeah,
I was
so,
like 25.
Yeah,
I was like 25.
And so then that there should be a red flag, I would guess, that it is so early in the relationship to be unattracted to somebody.
Right.
And your attraction, I found that when I was married, my attraction grew. It grew every year. It didn't get less and less every year.
Right, in a healthy relationship, but obviously when it's toxic, it's so easy to believe that, well, I did have his baby, so I do have these stretch marks, so I do, I am tired, so it starts making sense, and that's how it just starts, and then you really start thinking about it, and it sinks in. Yep. You're not, when you're a mother, you're not worried about yourself anymore. You're worried about your children, and you're taking care of your children. So your hair may not be done all the time. You may not always have makeup on. And so, you feel less than. And so when you're with your husband or your significant other and they're telling you, you look like crap, like, it sinks in and it hits really hard and really deep.
And the only people that could really hurt us are the people that are close enough, right? So if you're not in a position to hurt me, you're not in a position to help me either.
Right.
And so the instinct is then, do we help each other? It's almost fight and flight or flight. Do we pull in the same direction? Do we help each other through this process, or do we run, right? Do we run to another relationship? Do we try to sabotage the relationship we have for a sense of almost freedom, I guess it would be, right? So, and the whole time you're really a slave to that sin nature. With the things we think are setting us free, are generally you're a slave to that. And if you think I'm wrong, try to stop doing it for a while and see. So if the nightlife makes you free, and if this relationship makes you free, and that lifestyle makes you free, maybe it does. I say you're a slave to it. Try not doing it for 90 days, and tell me if you are participating in that in your own with your own permission still. So you have, Kendall, a different view on it, but explain to me what made you kind of think to break that cycle, and that's where we're going to go next. What happened? That's kind of what it was like, but what happened that you recognized the problem, and then you recognize the problem early, no matter how much denial you're in, but all of a sudden you become willing to do something about it. How did that fall into place for you?
Well, to put a time frame on things, in my relationship, it started in high school 16 years ago. And it was never good from the beginning, but you do get that comfort with somebody, and you build a history with them. But as time went on, I kept saying to myself, like, this is not right. Like, look how many people want to save her, want to save me. And, like, what do? I'm afraid that I'm going to be so much worse off, without this person in my life. So I finally got to the point where I saw things just spiraling out of control. And like what I've told people at my congregation is the ship was sinking. So I can either be in the lifeboat and it's starting to sink too. Do I get out and try to swim and try to save myself, and also so that, she could go and try to save herself? Or do we both stay on the boat, the lifeboat, and sink together and die like at the end of Titanic?
You're in a little bit of a different situation, because there's a potential now still to save this relationship that you're in. And I don't know where you're at with that, but you do have that option. I would say that in all these cases, we're deriving our self-worth from the wrong place. So if we derive our self-worth from what somebody thinks of us, or from what our status, or what the community thinks of us, or money, or I did that for years with my ability to make money. And when I couldn't do that, I felt worthless. It was perfectly natural response to that. So the idea that we should be in community with God and drawing our self-worth from our hopefully Genesis 2 relationship with God, a loving relationship with God, and then all these things are are possible, right? You can then set yourself free from these things. So you're in a situation really where you're kind of considering whether or not you're going to or how to approach adjusting this thing. You guys are clearly outside of this relationship, separated from this relationship. You've rebuilt and gone on. Jen, when did you? What situation occurred? So if we're thinking about it as what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, what happened that made you say, this isn't okay, I have to get out of this situation?
So August 22nd, 2011, at about 8:10 in the morning, my ex-husband strangled me while I was holding our son.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, he had done a whole bunch of other things before that, you know, just push me around and, you know, kind of like pull my hair. Just, I'm not saying it's okay because it's definitely not, but this last time was like the worst. So everything leading up to that seemed like nothing. So my kids had never seen him do any of this. I would try to hide things and take them for car rides and you know, just did the best that I could for them not to see it go on, you know. So August 22nd, 2011, I was holding our son, and my ex-husband strangled me and threw us to the ground. He busted out the window to the truck with us in it, and it was just violent. It was
Scary.
aggressive. It was very scary, and that was it. That was it. I called the cops, and I was done. And so I got out. I left. And
that, again, a very very low point in your life turned out to be the biggest blessing in your life. Because I know you're awesome now. I know you in real life outside of this podcast.
Thank you.
So we, people are really responding to this topic online. So I want to give a shout out to, I'm reading it off my phone, AKC7 Boxer Pups. Mama K says hi.
Hi.
Not sure who that is.
My
but,
mom.
Oh, it is. Hi,
Yeah,
Mom.
Hey, Mama.
Are you calling again?
That's
Are you
cool.
going to call us again? Don't make me cry.
I know, Mommy.
I promised I wouldn't do this. And then Eric from New Jersey says hi. I don't know. That's your guy?
Yeah, that's someone I've known since like 2002.
Very cool.
Haven't seen him in a while, but he's definitely my best friend in this world. Definitely.
That's awesome. That's a great thing to have. Some kind of degenerate named Matthew Margetko.
Oh, that character.
He says, there he is, the big guy. I don't know if he means me or you.
I'm pretty sure.
Daddy.
I'm pretty sure it's me. I don't want to be full of myself or anything, but you know, what's up, Matt?
Julie says, hi, Jen.
Hi, Jules.
This topic needs to be addressed publicly.
Agreed.
Darren Chance, one of my guys.
Oh,
Three,
hey.
three praying hands. Saint Hoodlum, awesome topic. I like the name, Saint Hoodlum.
Yeah,
That would be
That's great.
That would be something I could relate to as a pastor and an
Right?
ex-hoodlum. And then Tony Ann Duvall says hi. That's pretty exciting.
She's the best.
She's awesome. Who is that?
Tony Ann.
TA?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Tony Ann. And what's the name of the? Never mind. We won't. That's a whole nother podcast. And then AKC7 Boxer Pup says, I can't wait to see my baby girl tomorrow. She is 1 in a million, and I love her. We happen to love her, too.
Aw, thank
So
you. I
she's
love
awesome.
y'all.
I'm waiting for my mom to say something nice.
And Saint Hoodlum says, hi, Jen. So apparently that's
Hi.
a Jen person.
I don't know.
I appreciate you guys, by the way.
You got a fan.
I appreciate you guys subscribing, sharing our content whenever you see it on social media. It's a simple thing to do, but it really does help a new ministry quite a bit. And of course, you know, when you go to Amazon, if you're shopping at Amazon anyway, you go to godlogicproject.com, click the Amazon logo, shop like you normally would. But I think they owe me 32 cents this month, so it's really
Ooh.
pretty
Gotta
exciting.
get that. That's 32 cents.
They will send a percentage of what you buy. It doesn't come out of your pocket; it comes out of their pocket. But it does help pay for the bills that we generate every month here. Michelle Vanker, somebody named Michelle Vanker.
Oh, that's my mom.
That's my ex-wife.
Here
She must have felt bad.
Wait, my
I
ex-wife
had to make
can't
her
watch
feel
this
bad.
show. This is weird.
Of course she can.
You know what's weird?
Her baby girl's on here.
You want to talk weird? My ex-wife, her husband, and my ex-sister-in-law are in leadership at my church.
I love it.
How
It's
crazy is
beautiful.
that?
No, that's awesome.
Tony Ann says, Casey, you're the best. I love you and am so proud of you.
Aw.
Now she's going to make me
She
cry.
pumps my heart always, or my pride.
So we
He always does it.
so going back to the topic, thank you guys again for watching and participating. We're going to open the phone lines here in a bit, but going back to the topic again, so we have a very definite, I know in Casey's case, there was a very definite instance where, because she called me crying, and I went and got her, and we took the kids to the house, and the whole thing unloaded after that. So we had my little house, we had me, the boy, 3 kids, and Casey. And then with you, there was a single situation that was just a tipping point, right? And then we begin to wonder, why do we, have to let it get that far? And that's
Right.
there's no sense in doing that to ourselves, right? So I would guess that there is no healing in that. If we understand our brokenness and what it takes to move forward, that's where the value is in this. So God, if we there's nothing more dangerous for people than uninterrupted self-will, which is what we're living on a lot of the time. God saw fit to interrupt that for you guys and for a bigger plan. And I happen to know, in Casey's case, what that bigger plan is. Case, what's going on with you lately? What have you done for us lately, Casey?
Oh, there's so much.
So
Well, I'm getting married.
to an awesome guy.
Awesome guy, and he's handsome.
And she stole my best friend, which is really, I'm not even going to the wedding, if that tells you anything.
Well, I remember when they were friends, and I'd be like, Dad, come on, give me the hookup.
Yeah, that's
He's so cute. Come on, Dad. And then he must have been saying the same thing to my dad.
Aw.
He
It
loves
was
me.
so cute. And
So cute.
I had to kind of stay out of the whole thing because they would also, I can't believe what Adam did. I can't believe what Casey did.
I know.
I'm
It was bad at first.
Yeah.
We had to learn a lot.
Yeah, grow up.
It's a
and
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
they've gone through quite a process. Well, Casey has also became, and we talked about this on the show before, but Casey is the first female pastor ordained at Next Level Church.
Awesome.
Wait,
Yes.
hold on.
I love it.
I always do that. And I happen to be a pastor too. Nobody cares. So and now she's in a relationship, a God-centered, Christ-centered
Yes.
relationship, and it has not been easy the last couple of years to kind of build and develop.
was-
And their commitment to this relationship is growing and continues to grow. And that is part of her spiritual recovery, part of her her owning her, cleaning her side of the street, kind of in keeping it that way, owning her part in things, and the progress has been tremendous. And I know, and Jen, you're going to tell us in a second, but I know a little. You and I have been friends for a while. I know a little bit about your story. But after that tipping point, kind of give us an idea of what happened and kind of where you're at now with your recovery as far as like abusive relationships.
So first of all, I just wanted to tell you congratulations because I'm over here like about to cry.
Give her a tissue.
We're actually friends.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so beautiful. Like literally.
Don't make me
So
cry,
it's-
Jen.
I know, it's great. So I am in recovery and I'm just out here trying to do God's work. I have a sober living house, a faith-based one called Anchored in Recovery for women. And I'm just out here, trying to
Do her thing.
glorify God, man. Like, do
And you're-
his work.
I follow your life very closely on
Yeah.
Facebook, and you have a tremendous relationship with your kids. You have a tremendous
Thank you.
relationship with the man raising your kids.
Yes.
and the
I have
woman-
to shout out Davy Johnson and Christy Johnson. They are they're my everything, my whole heart. That girl, Christy Johnson, she's a woman of God, and I love her so much. She's my business partner, and she's my best friend. She's married to my son's father, and we have this great relationship. We have 5 boys together, and we co-parent. Like,
So cool.
it's crazy what God has done in our lives, and I'm so grateful.
And think about that night with the broken truck window, and if that didn't happen, we wouldn't be talking about this,
I
right?
know.
So if not for God intervening in our lives and
Yes.
and providing us closing doors we shouldn't go through and opening doors He wants us to go through, and most of the time it's just a matter of us abiding,
Right.
right? And then the blessings come and come and come and come.
They do.
And I can tell you that every bad thing that's ever happened to me in my life, and on paper, I've had some hard times.
Yeah.
Follow me around with a hidden camera, and you'll think I'm the most blessed person you ever seen in the world,
Right.
And I don't have materially the things I had 10 or 15 years ago.
Right.
First of all, let's show your Facebook page at least. So this is Anchored in Recovery. It's a new recovery residence, transitional living.
Yes.
And that is in the picture. I believe that is the godly woman.
Christy Johnson.
I'm going to have Christy and Davey on the show.
I know.
I mean, they should be guests.
They should be.
We can build some kind of podcast around a healthy Christ-centered relationship for sure. You know. So if you know women or men by
we do right now. We're faith-based women, men very soon. But yes, right now it's faith-based sober living.
Yeah, so they can get the extra layer of support that comes along with your recovery being focused and centered on growing your relationship with God. So you don't have to be walking on water to get in there. No. But you just have to know that there is a power greater than you, and you're not it, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I tell people the big difference between me and God is God never thinks he's me.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, have a habit of thinking I'm God from time to time. And you think plumber, the only thing higher is God. You know?
That's great.
So Kendall, I know a little bit about your story. We just met actually today, but although we've been talking for a week or so, we were in the same place at the same time today, and I recognize
awkward
you from
how that's been happening lately with like everybody.
That is, I have lost all faith in coincidences.
Yeah, they don't exist once you get sober and you start to see like all the dots turn into lines being connected.
So I'm not going to blow your anonymity or anybody else in the room's anonymity, but chemical addiction was part of your story too. You are new in recovery from alcohol abuse, drug abuse. What is it?
I'm new in recovery from a whole bunch of things. The main issue was opiates, but alcohol played a part, kind of like almost with anyone. Alcohol was not my starting point to using. But using turned into, if I don't have that today, I'm going to use alcohol because I can get it right now, walk a mile, I need $5, stop, drink, and
so you're doing more than that though. You're actively working in the program of recovery. I know this.
Yes.
I know people that know you.
Yes.
We won't use any names, but a guy that your sponsor is one of my homies. So we won't use his name.
He is in street culture. He's the big homie.
Yeah. He is a guy truly walking the walk that we're describing today.
Awesome.
I love him. We have a lot of fun. I won't use his name, but he's been on the show. And usually we're giggling idiots when we're in the same place.
I'm starting to learn that about him now.
But you're getting healthier, right? So I see that you're walking. Disciplined in your mind, body, and spirit recovery seems to be kind of what you're plugged into. True.
Yeah. The way I look at each day is if I want to stay sober, I have to keep busy. Mm-hmm. But because I'm not working and I don't have a vehicle, that limits me. So what can I do in my recovery to get out of the house? Because the house is where you feel comfortable using and abusing drugs. You lock yourself inside, you stay there, you don't have to deal with anyone. But I'm not that type of person. I'm a people person. I want to get out and about. So if that means I hop on the bus and walk down Ridge Road to apply for a job, why go back home? I just walk down the street, get the exercise that I already need. Just like today, I had an appointment at Good Sam, and I was like, well, I'm already down here. Why not get my exercise in of 2 miles and walk to the Grace Recovery House where I could support my congregation and the cause?
And that happened to be where we were
today.
And
that's where we met
I can
today.
tell you that isolation is a big deal in recovery. So it is, strangely, I can tell you from experience, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm 31 years, by the way, removed from my last drink and an arm's length away from my next drink. So you talk about just running down to the store and getting some alcohol. You know, if I preach in jail in Land O'Lakes, how many bars and liquor stores and 7-Eleven type stores, convenience stores, do I pass between in 45 minutes or an hour from Land O'Lakes back here to Holiday? And I live in Holiday.
Yeah.
Not hard to find drugs here. Just have to stand outside and somebody will ask you.
Exactly.
So it is something we need to understand. We are given a daily reprieve based on our spiritual condition. I say all that to say it seems like you're doing the footwork, right? So I would continue to do the things that you're doing because I think you're doing it well. So if I'm not a betting man.
Right,
if I was a betting man, I would bet for you and not against you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I encourage anyone that wants to see someone early in recovery working towards, like, being an amazing person to follow my story. Because, I mean, I pray that every day that I stay sober, because I can't do that alone. That's what we learn in recovery. So, but part of that is also, like, I do a little bit each day, like, so that it doesn't pile up. And what's that's doing, and it's making me feel accomplished. If I call and find out when my power bill is due or when my water is due, that's stupid sounding to someone who has their life together. Like, that's all you did today. But to me, it's like, now that's off my plate.
Right.
So now I can accomplish the next big task, and so on. But the one thing I am having an issue with is, like, I dream big. You know, I want to be out doing, like, stuff like that you're doing. And, like, my sponsor has to be like, yo, slow down, slow down a little bit, bro. Yeah, I know you want to get out there. And I think that shows, like, where my heart really is, because helping people is just what I want to do. But Kendall has to help himself. And there's just these little things that I have. They're small, but each day I try to tackle something in it. So if exercise and losing weight is it, I do that. If calling, check on my power bill and getting it in my name with a deposit.
The little things. What do you have to do to get through today? So there's some of the things that I tell newcomers. By the way, the beginning of service work is showing up, right? The very first part of service work for other newcomers and old timers like me is we can tell when someone is working the program and when they're not, right? Yeah. So the beginning of service work is showing up, you know, and setting and doing the things that we suggest newcomers do are the same things we do on a daily basis. So we're not telling you things we used to do. We're telling you the things that will get you sober are the things that will keep you sober. Right. So it is self-discipline in the beginning. It's spiritual muscle memory after a little while.
It is. And I had, like, when I talk to my sponsor, we talk about, like, little tiny things that I have to work on. I have, you know, like, I have a lot of things going on in my brain, but where do I put my energy? Yeah. Your brain is a crazy place. I don't know if you watch, like, Elon Musk on.
There's almost nothing going on in my brain at any given moment. It's crickets and tumbleweed. Oh, wait, wrong button. That's what it sounds like in my head right now.
Okay. Yeah, I know what that is. I definitely know what that type of feeling is.
Yeah. So early in recovery, you want to keep it very simple. So the best advice I got, and I was deep into recovery when I got it, was to play small ball. What do I got to do today to get through today?
Right.
Be reasonably happy. Keep my expectations in line. I'm not going to fart fairy dust everywhere I go because I quit drinking. Don't hurt anybody today. Yeah. No lying, cheating, stealing, right? Yeah. Help somebody, even if it means holding the door open for a little old lady, and learn something new every day. And that, you know, I say it all the time, but Joel Osteen and Tony Robbins won't sell a lot of books or self-help tapes. I just dated myself, tapes. They won't sell a lot of self-help 8-tracks.
8-tracks.
But you do those 5 things every day, 365 days in a row, and tell me how you're doing a year from now. And this is something that I didn't exercise early in recovery, but have in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's made all the difference in the world. Right. So continue to do what you're doing, and then we're going to go around. We're going to open the phone lines. So hold on. I'm going to switch the topic a little bit to how do you keep from picking up the bad habits the other person had in the relationship? And not that you were absolutely innocent in a relationship, but do you in your next relationship, what I would worry about would be, do I now pick out somebody that is weaker emotionally that I can then be in control of for a while? And the girls are losing their minds right now because
that is the dangerous part.
So, light bulbs going on.
I didn't just fall off a turnip truck. I thought about this. Yeah. So how do you then not assume the power position in a relationship? How do you then maintain a spiritually equal or a copacetic type of relationship? Casey, I'm talking to you.
Okay. So for me, when I left my husband, I absolutely jumped into a relationship where I was the power. This guy treated me and my children amazing. Really did. He really loved us. And he was really really good to us, but it wasn't intentional. It really wasn't. But I was so broken that I used it. Okay, he's good to me. I don't have to work, and he's putting my kids in daycare. We live here for free. You know what I mean? He bought me a brand new car.
Wow.
It was all, and I'm not materialistic. That's not what it is. It's just I was being taken care of in a way that I desperately wanted from my husband.
Mm-hmm.
So I 100% took advantage of this guy, and he was great. And because I became I wasn't physical with him, but I was definitely a manipulator. I was emotionally abusive.
And saying that out loud cannot be easy.
It's
so
not.
That
and
shows.
if he's watching this, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I know who he is, and I loved him.
I loved him too. It wasn't in a romantic. I mean, it was in a romantic way because we were dating, but I think he deserves somebody that makes him happy. He has a girlfriend now that I knew for years, and she's really great, and they're really happy, and I'm really happy for them. And he knows that I've apologized to him 100 times. And anyway, how I got out of that is I ended up breaking up with him, and because I started losing the control. Mm-hmm. So I started doing to him what how I would feel towards my ex-husband.
So you began to weaponize love, like the topic for tonight's show,
definitely.
And it became a competition, not a partnership.
Right. So he starts, now he's insecure, and he's like, I'm not worth anything. Like, she doesn't love me, and I'm doing everything for her, and I'm not enough. Right. He absolutely 100% was enough. I was just broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's enough brokenness going around, by the way, deriving your self-worth from a relationship.
Right. And that's
not
his,
gonna end well.
Right, that's his side of the streets, and that's definitely was, some brokenness there. I know that he has, like, seeked counseling and stuff since then. I'm really proud of him for that. But it was hard because I finally started realizing, like, I'm losing control because now he's insecure. Right. So now he's getting some control of this relationship, and I ended up like, I'm telling you, one day just broke up with him. Like, he had no idea. He was heartbroken. It was awful. And after that, I began to, I didn't want a boyfriend, really. I just wanted who can give me that emotional lift that I struggled with. Everything goes back to my ex-husband. So we had not a good sexual relationship. So now I'm trying to seek, I'm going to give my body to men so that way they will look past the fact that I have 3 kids.
Right.
And so now I'm not saying anything to bribe them like I was with my ex-boyfriend, but now I'm using my body. I'm going to use my body so that way you like me,
So then, Jen, in your experience, after getting out of a relationship like that, how do you then move into a healthy relationship? Did you move into another unhealthy relationship,
Absolutely.
or what happened?
Unhealthy after unhealthy after unhealthy.
Yep.
It's for me, it was like phases. Like, I would go through that where I didn't want an emotional attachment with a guy, and it was just sex. And then it would be like, I was like that crazy, like, stage 5 clinger. And then the next one, I would date, like, somebody that I almost, like, felt bad for because I felt like I had that power over them. And so it's like this emotional thing, and it's awful. It is awful.
So
like,
you're absolutely out of control.
Out of control. And it's not until I found out who I was, until I started working on me,
Wow.
and knowing who I am, and that I am enough, that I deserve a great guy. You know what I mean? Somebody that's going to protect me and love me and be kind to me. Until I found Jesus, until I sought after Jesus and that relationship. I didn't know what love was. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know, like, and I didn't have a bad childhood. Like, my parents are great. You know what I mean?
Too.
Like, I saw my dad is a retired captain in the fire department. Like, you know what I mean? I had a really good childhood. My dad didn't, like, beat my mom or anything. You know what I mean? But because this world tells us, to look a certain way and act a certain way, and this is what love is, and it's sex, and it's this, and it's that, and it's not. Love is supposed to be patient and kind, and knowing who I am as a daughter, knowing to whom I belong to, is that it wasn't until then that I start understanding what I deserve, and I did a lot of horrible things, and I've treated a lot of people very badly because I was hurt, because I didn't know how to process that. Like I said, I would date guys that I knew that I was better than, just so that I could keep that power.
Some kind of control.
Yeah.
So I went through a period in my own life where after my son's mother, I just looked at it almost like a game. Like, if this is how it's done, if this is how everybody else plays it,
Right.
this is how I'm going to play it too. And that goes against one of my moral precepts of don't let other people's behavior dictate your behavior.
Right.
And while I participated in it over a period of years, I knew it was not Kevin-like, right? It was not me. And I had to pull back completely and then rebuild any idea of even a friendly relationship with women. It was 6 months later before I was go back on Facebook, say hello to people, hug in
Right.
church. To me, I had to shut down and reevaluate my situation. I had to retract completely. So then we go to the phone lines are open, by the way, so you can call in 727-600-5837. And if you see me, I answer the phone and I do the interview. So it gets a little awkward when people call, but the phone calls are usually awesome. So I encourage people to call in now.
Yeah.
Being early in recovery, and you're still essentially married. Are you married?
Yeah.
So
we're not divorced or anything.
So your situation is a little bit different in that you're still in the situation. There is a chance, if you both seek healing and recovery, that this thing could be saved. Now, I don't know where you're at, and you don't have to speak into that here publicly, but you have the opportunity to save this relationship, but you won't be able to do it. I hate to say, you're not going to be able to do this by yourself. So your significant other has to seek recovery as well, and this thing could be salvaged. In the meantime, being early in recovery and being married, if I was your sponsor, I'd tell you relationships are off the table right now.
Yeah, and I've definitely been told that. Because my issue definitely for sure is I'm desperate for love. I grew up, my mom loved me beyond belief, but she still drank herself to death by the time I was 15. So once she was gone and I was like, had no other choice but to live with my father that I didn't necessarily favor, he did not know how to love me, not the way a father should. So when I met my wife in high school, it basically turned into, well, someone finally shows that they love me. But as, like, she cheated on me. Like, I've only cheated on her 3 times ever.
Oh, is that all?
Well, I'm just saying,
In baseball, those are Hall of Fame numbers, bro. So that ain't bad.
Not in comparison.
Yeah.
Let's just say it that. I'm not going to get into it. But,
Yeah.
It's not that I wouldn't have back then, just I didn't care to.
So we go right back to a situation, I think, and I don't know you or your wife very well, but I would think we're talking about somebody that is deriving their self-worth from the wrong place.
Right.
And until, Jen kind of touched on it a little bit, but until you, I don't think you could love anyone until you love yourself
Right.
as within your relationship with your Creator. So
Right.
at that point, now I'm a pastor and unmarried, so I'm celibate. But my thought is, if God wants me to serve in this capacity, in this role, that's fine with me. My desires for relationships are rational and proportionate. They're not dead, but they're rational and proportionate now, where they
Right.
weren't for a period in my life. Right now, Paul was, if you read Scripture, Paul was selected to be. He even said, you all should be like me and not get in a relationship. But if you burn with desire, then you should get married.
Right.
So if God has picked me, we'll talk about it when I get to heaven. I'm not wild about it, but if He's picked me to live like this in this role right now in this season of my life, my main goal is to serve the kingdom.
Right.
And then if He wants me to have a wife, He'll issue me one. So that'll be nice. So in all that just to say, we want to be sure that we are first and foremost abiding in the vine. John 15, abide in the vine. Don't worry about the fruit. You will be pruned, and it hurts. In life, we get pruned, and you guys were a prime example of that, and I have been in my life.
Right.
But as long as we abide in the vine, we're pruned by the vine dresser, which is God the Father, that we would then bear more and better fruit. So you are you're in a situation now, a little earlier. They're further along in the situation than you are.
Right.
But you are now in a situation where you're being pruned for something greater, to bear more fruit and better fruit. And you need to have faith in that. And the hard part is, don't think about the fruit. It's none of your business.
Right,
As soon as you think about the fruit, what you're really thinking about is yourself. We abide in the vine, Jesus, and it keeps us walking in that 1 John light, if that makes sense. So regardless of what he has for your future, it's none of your business. None of any of our businesses what he has planned for us for the future. What is our business is that we abide in that vine. We have a choice every day to walk in the darkness or walk in the light. And the enemy wants you thinking of yourself, right? God wants you to love him. The enemy wants you to love everything else. Right, so God doesn't. The devil doesn't come to you with red horns and a pitchfork. He comes to you in the form of everything you ever wanted. And so we need to be. We accept the protection, the Ephesians 6 protection, putting on the full armor of God, that we would be prepared for this spiritual battle that we're about to face. And I'm ready to preach. If you catch me preaching, say amen.
Amen.
I'm ready to get up. I'll go back. I'll go open a church right now. I'll preach to nobody.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have had a really, really powerful conversation here. This is a podcast that I wasn't sure I wanted to do because I don't have a lot of experience with it, and there is a control thing there for me.
Right.
And the Father put it on my heart that I would learn through this process, like the audience would learn through this process. So when the pupil is ready, the teachers will appear, and I think that happened today. So this has been a really important, powerful episode that I think it's going to be on the channel forever now. So we can't tell how many lives we can affect, how many people we can encourage with a podcast like this. Now, having said that, guys, if there's anything I can do for you, be it recovery, chemical addiction, any kind of recovery at all, I have resources inside and outside the state of Florida. I'd be glad to help. Message me at godlogicproject.com. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you have a story we can tell, again, message me, godlogicproject.com. I'll try to build a podcast around that. Even if you just need prayer, if you just need to want to exchange emails and maybe steer you in the right direction spiritually, that's what we do the Godlogic Project for. It is not for any other reason except to reach out and help people and have this conversation, have conversations that we would not normally have, because people in 21st century, 2020 America, we only talk to people that agree with us.
Right.
We're trying to build up a platform here where people that don't agree, people that don't know, can learn through watching this show and participating in this show. With that in mind, please subscribe, like, comment. If you give it a thumbs down, please comment so I can see what I can get some negative feedback as well. I'm going to go around the room real quick, and I'm going to just have everybody give their elevator speech. The last 2 minutes. What do you want to leave people with? What thought do you want to leave people with today, Casey? Tonight, if they're in a situation that you were in, 3 or 4 years ago, what advice would you give them for moving forward?
Wow.
You knew I was going to ask this.
I know, but it's just so real, because
it is.
It hurts me to know that other people are going through it.
Right.
When you're in it, you feel like you're the only one, and you're not. There is hope, and sometimes when you leave, it gets a little uglier before it gets better. That's what definitely happened to me. My life got much worse, which you think, what's worse than somebody beating up your child? But it got worse, definitely got worse. But it gets better. It really does get better, and it does through a relationship with Jesus. For me, I tried on my own.
Yeah, and just talking about it, we're only as sick as our secrets. If you speak this into the light, it loses its power over you. Jen, what last couple of minutes, what would you tell folks to do?
Pretty much the same thing, that you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. Talk to someone, reach out to your support, online, email, whatever. Just reach out. You're not alone. Don't give up hope. Real love doesn't do that. Doesn't make you feel like that. That is not love. that's not love. That's not respect. That's not loyalty. That's not a thing. That's disrespect, and that's ugly. And when you're looking for a partner, find yourself and love yourself first. And you guys, when you come together and you're equally yoked, and that when you're spiritually fit, it just really helps. Like if you're not equally yoked with your partner, and one is a Christian and the other one isn't, it's not going to work.
It's tough.
It's difficult.
And
what's
the Scripture
wrong,
calls us to be equally yoked. And
Right.
Paul lays out in his letter to the church of Corinth what love is and what it isn't.
Right.
Love isn't boastful, right?
Right.
It's not jealous.
It's kind and it's patient.
Yeah.
If you fill your name in that, or your spouse's name in that Bible verse,
Instead of
so
love.
you say, Casey is patient. Am I
see.
patient?
Right.
Is my spouse patient?
I like that.
And if you do that and you put either your name or somebody else's name in that, the whole thing, anytime it says love, you will be like, holy crap, I'm jacked up.
Yeah, right. But yeah, just don't lose hope that keep trying, get out of it. That's not love. It will get better. You don't have to live like that. And just keep going.
There's blessings.
So I'm going to go to Kendall for your last 2 minutes. But first, buddy, I got to tell you that Jen's mom, very impressed with you. And she says more men should be as brave as this guy. Maybe this could be a calling for him. This could be why you're being pruned right now. Women can be abusers too.
Yeah, it's possible.
So I know you're kind of new in this whole process, but if you were going to try to give somebody hope in this situation, what would you say? A couple minutes.
I mean, in this situation, people are going to present opportunities to you. I know for a female in this presentation, you're going to have guys coming to you like, I'll take you and save you from this relationship. But I honestly, from experience, don't think that's who you would run to, because you're going to somebody who knows how to manipulate you. They saw how your ex was manipulating you. So I've noticed
they want to be next. So
Yeah.
prey behavior triggers a predator response, both in nature and in human nature. And I shouldn't say this, but I told somebody on via text message that I'm not looking for a unique fixer-upper anymore. That has to be, I bring something to the table too.
Right.
And so I'm not just gonna. It's not any port in a storm anymore for me. I have a port in the storm now, and I have my hands full with running a church, running a podcast, raising a kid by myself. I'm willing to do this for the duration, and trust God. Right, like I said, if He wants me to have a wife, He'll issue me one. One will fall out of the sky. But in the meantime, I've got work to do. Right, I've got kingdom work to do.
Always work to do.
We're going to close with some more comments. Don Banker says, do a show on self-worth and what the Bible says, and we should feel what we should feel about ourselves. I'd be glad to do that, and I'd be glad to do a sermon on that certainly as well. My old buddy, one of the oldest supporters of the Godlogic Project, when we were an weekly apologetic meeting. Apologetics is the science and the history behind the Bible, things like that. And I used to teach on that, and I still will and do. But he says, thanks, Kev. Well, Kevin, time well spent. It's good to hear from Joe. I've been missing you. Tony Ann says, great topic. And I say, thank you again for watching. If you want to support the Godlogic Project, anchor.fm. That's a little weird, /Godlogic Project. You can become a project partner. You can help us do this. You're helping us by watching. You're helping us by subscribing. You're helping us by sharing this content. And you're helping us by commenting online, too. So give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs down. Comment. And if no one's told you they love you today, God loves you, and so do we.
We love
you. So receive that.
Yes.
Be blessed, and we'll speak soon. Outro music. Thank you for supporting the Godlogic Project. And if no one's told you they love you today, God loves you, so do I. Receive that. Be blessed. We'll speak soon. This has been a Rev Kev production. Your mileage may vary.
Shut up, Kevin.